I've got more if you want to.
No! Thanks for joining us on the Idiot's Odyssey. Tonight, myself and Fergal talk about our top 5 films of the year. This is episode 2 of the Idiot's Odyssey. And how we're going to do this is Fergal's going to give his number 5, I'm going to give my number 5, Fergal's going to give his number 4, and then I'll give my number 4, and I think you can follow on from there.
And coming in at number 5, I have Enemy, which is the beginning of the year of Jake Gyllenhaal. It's Gyllenhaal playing 2 different characters for starters, just showing off. It's like, I have so much talent in my back pocket that I can take 2 completely different guys and play them flawlessly in the film. One of them's kind of quiet, neurotic college professor who becomes obsessed with this character he sees in the film who looks exactly like him. As you might guess, that's character number 2. I can't remember his name, so we're not going to bring that into it. But he's an actor.
I can see where the way this is going. You got the actor and you got the professor.
Yeah.
I imagine would look the exact same if they're played by the same character. Go on.
Yep, good guess. So we've got two sides of Jake Gyllenhaal. Gyllenhaal being portrayed here. One's the charismatic ladies' man. The other is the quiet, weird college professor who, for some reason, is still nailing Melanie Laurent after class. Which I don't understand, but it's your reality enemy, so you build it however you want. But the thing that separates Enemy, what he's done is he's after creating a massive puzzle film. It has got the most shocking last 5 seconds you will see in a film this year. One, because it's...
Would you not consider that technically spoilery?
Nah, it's fine.
Alright.
1, because you never see it coming, and 2, because it completely recontextualizes the entire film. The entire film, you see it with the tone of the film. You just didn't realise that's the film you were watching. And for me, that's why Enemy's so great. It's a film you can watch twice, and you'll see 2 completely different films. And
well, that's an interesting take on it, isn't it?
Move on to your number 5 now.
My number 5 is Captain America: Winter Soldier, and one of the big driving things in this film that really captivated me was the position between Steve Rogers and Nick Fury, and just as brilliantly there. And of course you have the inherent kind of, I really gotta stop saying inherent, but the difference between Steve Rogers and Black Widow in this film, and it's very much a spy kind of thing. Fergal, you saw it, what did you think of it?
Yeah, first off, I did notice the difference between Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson, and that Chris Evans is a very...
I meant the philosophy-wise.
That makes sense too, actually.
Yeah.
But the thing is, whereas in the first film...
I also think it's probably the best Marvel villain since Loki.
Yeah, well, he's... are we talking about the Winter Soldier here?
Yeah, the best Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Because I'll say every Hydra bad guy in Captain America 1, they were kind of generic Nazi dude.
Like the Red Skull was a very good villain, but he was more or less straightforward.
Absolutely
to the point. Like
he was tonally, it was weird. He was a mad scientist. Whereas in this, they're going for Hydra just full on psychopath mode. I mean, you've got Frank Grillo playing. I'm forgetting a character name here again, but he playing just the biggest badass mercenary you'll ever see in your life. There's a Winter Soldier who was
he does it very fantastically, and the actor who played him, who we can't say for spoiler reasons, is Sebastian Stan. He does very very well and to the point, and it really hits it top notch. And also Robert Redford is brilliant in this film as well.
Yeah, plus one of the best looking films you're going to see this year. Wherever the budget went, 90% of it went just on special effects, surely, because you're going to see things you've never seen before.
It doesn't feel that kind of out of the order. It feels like it's still taking place in a real world. It's not,
It does, yeah.
It's not like other ones that are just completely out of nowhere.
Yeah, but that's what's so good about it, because they take these special effects, but they're very grounded. It feels like Michael Mann meets Marvel.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you got the Russo brothers actually coming out of this, and I suppose, and the next big thing they'll have is the Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 in Marvel, in the Avengers.
Yeah, which is good, considering the only thing I could think that was on the resume was, I think, You, Me, and Dupre.
No.
They didn't have very much beforehand.
So all in all, I thought it was a very good film, definitely worth watching, and that's why it's my number 5.
And at number 4, for anyone who wants to get their Tom Hardy fix on this year, it's Locke. Now, this is Tom Hardy as you've never seen him before. One, because he's putting on an accent that I actually had to look out. What Ryan Reynolds didn't bury, Tom Hardy is doing in Locke, in that it is him in a car on a phone carrying the film for an hour and a half.
And do you know where else you'll be able to see him soon? In a car?
No idea.
And Max.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Probably one of a Welsh accent in that one, but...
yeah, probably an Australian accent, I'm guessing.
Yeah, might also be worth checking out. But it's incredible just because it's a film that is built around one man, Hardy's character, Ivan Locke, driving south to meet the woman who's having his baby, but absolutely destroys his life. It rips his life apart. It's very deep. The performance
really,
is fantastic. Yeah, but I mean, like this is all below the surface level stuff,
right,
but just on surface level, it's really compelling. It's there's this one final phone call that managed to hold me in more tension than I felt in a cinema this year twice in 1 minute. It manages to use silence twice to just have you on the edge of your seat. It's an incredibly made film.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, and coming out my number 4 is Gone Girl, where David Fincher once again goes back into the real world as he directs Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike in this. It's adapted from a book, but also, even though it's got a different ending from the book, it's written by the same.
That's it.
If you follow me.
Yeah, it's a very Fincher movie. He actually did the same thing with Fight Club.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, it's interesting that because there are a few differences, but they're not really they're not nearly as major as it was originally made out to be. They're just, they may change a little bit of the tone, but not majorly. Yeah. But I thought that it was very well done. I could see Fincher was definitely on form here, and I thought that Rosamund Pike is definitely in with a shot of Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rosamund Pike carries the film. Because Ben Affleck is playing this sort of a douchebag where he's fun to watch, but you can't really take the character seriously.
Yeah.
Whereas Rosamund Pike's character, she's like a sort of a Hannibal Lecter in disguise character.
Yeah, spoilers, by the way.
Oh, yeah, spoilers.
Well, she's a psycho bitch. That's probably honest about her.
She's pretty crazy. Rosamund Pike's crazy, guys.
Yeah, but that doesn't really stop her being unreal.
Yeah,
in every way.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I mean, just like you said, Fincher tears it up here.
And clearly, it seems that this film came so close to after the announcement. Well, I think it was probably the first major film that Ben Affleck starred in after the announcement of him being Batman. If I'm right.
It sounds right.
Yeah, well, it was definitely when a lot of the buzz was around the place, and this coming out and him having such a fine performance himself in it, it really kind of led credence to him as a serious actor. And you got to imagine that they pulled in a lot more numbers purely because he had just been announced as Batman.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, it does open the door for if he plays Batman this way. Surely
he's not going to play it the exact same freaking way.
Yeah, just take a look at the possibility. It would be a hilarious Batman. It's like all those scenes where Christian Bale was walking around with 3 models on his arm.
Pieces were on all the right places in this one, and it was just really well done. And I thought Neil Patrick Harris was also very good in this film as well. Even though his role was smaller, it was still just a little creepy. Even though you might not be able to take him seriously anymore because of his time as Barney Stinson in How I Met Your Mother, it was still a really weird twist on it.
Yeah, exactly what you were saying there about not being able to take it seriously anymore.
You might struggle with it, but he still does it brilliantly.
Chops nailed down for this.
Oh yeah,
what you said about the creepiness of the character, and at the same time capturing this sort of weird self-righteousness. It's all there.
It just feels like this. There's a creepiness inbuilt into the character. He doesn't say anything that's overly creepy. It just comes across as creepy.
That really adds some depth to the character.
Okay, well, so definitely worth watching it.
So, moving on to my number 3, we have The Raid 2, Gareth Evans' follow-up to, as you might guess, The Raid 1, which might be the kind of, if you're into big over-the-top kind of Asian kung fu action films, Raid 1, the best description I ever heard of it was that the Raid 1 will kick your balls down your throat. Absolute mega super ultra violence, but it's all done in a very balletic way, which is it.
Did you see it a different kind of take on the world than the Raid had?
Yeah, the Raid 1 was a stripped down plot. If you have seen Dread, which it had the exact same plot as Dread.
Well, I always feel that Dread probably deserves a bit of a sequel as well, but that's not the point.
Yeah, absolutely. Dread's fantastic. I love Dread. But the Raid 1 was just very minimalistic. We're going to get these guys into a building and we're going to have them shoot at some people, beat up some people, and it's all going to be choreographed down to the very last iota, whatever you choreograph things down to. The Raid 2 is the Raid 1 with a sort of a cop espionage story tacked on. He's going undercover in a gang with the action scenes scaled up as well. So we're moving on from those intimate fights where the camera's about 5 feet away, that amount, to these huge over the top set pieces, but they're still just as crazy. I mean,
so it's not like they just ordered the same again.
No, just from the plot to the way the action scenes are done, to the amount of characters and the kind of, I suppose, the depth of how much they get into the characters' heads. It's all there. Plus, it has I don't know if this joke will translate, and there is a joke about picking up guys to shoot a porn where they are getting pegged. So that's the sort of over-the-top thing you're dealing with. And if you can handle that, if you could see a joke involving that being funny, I think you'll get the sort of tone that the Raid's going for.
Right. And coming in on my number 3 is X-Men: Days of Future Past, in which basically it's time travel done right for the first time in a long time. Well, if you like this film, there'll be a rogue cut coming out in summer of 2015, also known as this summer. And this was a really well done film, and it really felt right because it combined the two timelines of X-Men. It combined the timeline from X-Men 1, 2, 3, and the timeline from X-Men First Class, and of course the return of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And I thought it was really well done.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like the kind of byword for this film, if you were to just use one word to describe it, the word was ambitious. Because
definitely.
Yeah, it's like X-Men on a level that the franchise just hasn't been before. You've got more actors of a better caliber than possibly, with the exception of the other stuff that you're getting from the Marvelverse. This is probably the most great actors you go and see in any one film.
I think it's I think maybe even better, to be honest, because these guys would all be able to headline their own film individually. Yeah. Whereas while in the other one, they're very good, but at the same time, they don't really have just the same quite star pull, you know. Because we've seen Hugh Jackman, we've seen Patrick Stewart, we've seen Ian McKellen, we've seen Michael Fassbender, and we've seen all of them in leading roles and really doing great work there. And I loved the way in this film you have both the past, the future, and the past. In the 70s.
Yeah, around the 70s.
Yeah, I think it was the 70s, yeah. And you got the future, which it's hard to tell if it was 10 years from now or now.
Yeah.
And that was just really well done, I thought. And because the future one looked really bleak, and the Sentinels from the future looked really cool, and I did love the battle where everyone died and then no one died at the end.
Exactly, yeah. Plus, I feel like the way the future was handled, they just used it as a framing story for the past story.
It was a very well done framing story.
Which I feel like this film succeeded because it was built very well at every level, just from script level up, where the writers understood exactly what they needed to keep people entertained. With this complicated time travel story, they knew exactly how much information needed to be fed to people at any one time, and how they were going to get that information across.
Which is why you can see why Rogue was originally cut from sections of the film. It'll be really interesting to see how many scenes she has and how many lines she has, because in the first one, I don't think she even had any lines.
Yeah, I'm really interested on the effect or scenes having the film, because as the film stands, I feel like it
was
had
pretty
everything.
solid. Like, yeah,
it had everything it
and it
needed.
really got me pumped up for Apocalypse.
Yeah,
X-Men Apocalypse, which will be in 2016, I think.
Yeah, especially that after credits scene.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, fantastic.
Now, moving on to my number 2. In contrast to Enemy, which is a film you watch 2 times, I think Under the Skin, I feel weird recommending it because I only feel like you can ever watch it once.
So if you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it already,
there's no need to watch it again. It's a very weird film. There's loads of it. There's loads of thinking time included in the film, which partly it could be seen as just trying to get us inside the character's head, trying to show where they are mentally. But I feel like a lot of us should just give you time to process what's going on and to absorb the film. Just think about it. It's got the thickest Scottish accent you'll ever seen. There's a whole bunch of cock if you're into that. And it's the reason that I can't recommend that you see it twice is just because there isn't that much material there. But the material that's there is really interesting. Might be the most interesting journey for any character that I've seen this year, and that's most of what the film's made of. Because beyond that, it's just these long, lingering shots. It's Scarlett Johansson driving around in the van, picking up guys so she can kill them.
I've heard this film is somewhat artsy in its approach.
Yeah, it's really, really. Like, it feels like an experimental film. It feels like someone's goofy art project. The key difference being that it actually works.
Huh, okay.
Yep.
And coming in at number 2 for myself, and just about, is Interstellar, which, once again, another Christopher Nolan attempt to blow our minds in. He sure as hell succeed. And I think it's one of the best science fiction films since maybe 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah,
in terms of actually exploring space, not actually being in space now.
Yeah, in terms of actually being in space, I think the crown was taken last year by Gravity, and now Christopher Nolan's after walking up and just taking the crown off Gravity's head and just jamming it right in the zone.
Yeah, because they explored it, but this one has a very solid, has a brilliant story, and just the look of the thing. I mean, they go to 3 different planets and they all look very different, and there's a wormhole that's a spear.
Yeah, I mean, like, those are all great reasons, but I feel like most of what makes this great is just what Christopher Nolan's become known for by now, which is the absolutely amazing production design.
Yeah, I mean, the camera shots of, like, where you see the side of the ship and you see when it's going through around the black hole and all this, and every kind of thing like that is just fantastically done, and, like, really spot on, and you really got the great performance out of everyone, including Matthew McConaughey, who, once again, was brilliant, and, like, it's been a brilliant 2 years for him, you know?
Well, to be fair, in Matthew McConaughey's case, it's not so much a case of getting a great performance out of him as I'd saying is just getting Matthew McConaughey into your film.
Yeah.
At that point, I think he could probably handle it. The guy's after proving himself as a mind-blowing actor over the past 2 years.
Yeah, he's fantastic in this. And there was realistically a 3-way tie between it, X-Men Days of Future Past, and my number 1, which I will reveal after Fergal reveals his number 1.
And rounding out my list, at number 1, we have Nightcrawler. Yeah, Enemy was the start of the year, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Nightcrawler was the end. And he's playing a completely different character again, in that he is creepy as all hell.
Oh god, is he creepy in this film.
Yeah. He's undergone a Christian Bale physical transformation.
Because apparently it was his idea to actually, like, to have that hairstyle and to be so gaunt looking.
Yeah.
To be so gaunt looking was definitely his idea, no?
Yeah, I mean, he has all the weight of a heroin addict.
That's basically what his character is. It's Coyote.
Yeah.
And I think he just performs this terrifically well, and I thought it was very good directing from a relatively inexperienced director.
The thing Dan Gilroy had as an advantage was his brother Tony Gilroy is a pretty big name.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's like he directed, I think, The Bourne Legacy and Michael Clayton, which
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah, which were absolutely huge, very well put together films. So, you know, it runs in the family. And moving away from Jake Gyllenhaal for a moment even, the way that the world of the film is built is brilliant. Just in terms of creating a world, it feels, number one, it's relatable. Number two, it feels like it's very much like a world that this creepy motherfucker could manipulate and do very well.
A world twisted by the creepy fella.
Yeah, exactly. And what that does is it makes a much more impact, just because you look at the screen and you feel like this is something that could go down. Maybe not some of the more fantastic elements of the film, but a lot of it feels like this is a real thing that could happen. Except for Jake Gyllenhaal, there doesn't exist a man that creepy on the planet. But regardless,
you never know, man. You never know
of how much grease there is in Jake Gyllenhaal's hair. It's got it on every level. Really,
because I thought the thing I came out of the thing was my eyes wide with frigging horror.
Yeah, I have a different reaction to horror, I guess, than most people. But when a film has it going on so many levels, and
this wasn't a horror film, to be clear. Now,
yeah,
this was a drama.
Definitely not. Oh, but it is super dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's almost black comedy that's played seriously in terms of some of the places it
I think you're right
goes,
there. Yeah, that comedy would probably describe it fairly well.
Yeah, and but regardless of that, the way society and the things it's critiquing, but in terms of what the film's trying to say, where it was going, there's plenty of moving parts for you to kind of try and get straight in your head.
And coming in at my number one anyway, is Guardians of the Galaxy, in which we go back into the Marvel Universe, and this time we have Chris Pratt in the lead with his team, his ragtag team of, well, just brilliant. Well, because this really was a film that relied a lot upon its music, and I think the music really made it for me. The soundtrack was just brilliant. And probably the first thing I did after I got home after watching it was I downloaded the soundtrack, and I think that says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like, the selection of tracks is pretty spectacular. They really captured the feel that they were going for in the film. This all kind of poppy light stuff with a bit of soul to it.
Yeah, it was very, very well done. And again, like, this film was just terrific in terms of all the set pieces were perfect, as far as I could tell anyway. The music was perfectly timed. The characters were spot on. And fine, Ronan might not have been the most intimidating character purely because Thanos was right in there in the shadows. And I think it was brilliant, like, because we haven't seen that much of Thanos, and he had a good few speaking lines in it, and he was the perfect enemy in terms of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like as the Marvel films have gone on from Iron Man 1, we've seen a very definite shift where they're always setting up plot points for the next film and make sure all these films feel more connected. But as well as that, what I feel like Thanos did was he created a sense of menace.
Yeah.
That Ronan wasn't quite able to achieve on his own. Where even though he's a powerful dude, he's got a big ass weapon. He does feel like sort of a rogue gun without much of a big, larger plan.
Ronan is very much Thanos' bitch.
Yeah, he feels like a bit of a dumbass. He doesn't think ahead. It's like, I'm going to destroy this planet and that's it.
Yeah, and but I thought it was very well done, and that the whole jigsaw fitting together so well, it just was spot on, and it was definitely a 10 out of 10 for me anyway. And if you have, and please send us your top 5. You can tweet us on twitter.com/idiotsodyssey, or on Facebook at facebook.com/idiotsodyssey. Or you can send us an email, idiotsodysseypodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, basically we've gotten our messy juices all over the internet by now.
Also, you can find us on our home of the web at idiotsodyssey.com.
Yep.
And I've been Eoin Murphy.
I've been Fergal O'Connor.
Thank you for joining us.